Louis is the gateway to the West, and it's also the path to an NCAA bowling championship.
Winning another NCAA championship will mean another amazing feeling that I'll remember forever.
Winning the NCAA championship would mean that all the work that the kids put in and the coaches put in makes it seem worthwhile.
Bowling for NCAA championship is the highlight of my career, and being a senior, I couldn't have expected anything better.
The NCAA Women's Bowling Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. We welcome you to Tropicana Lanes, where it's the #1 seeded Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin taking on the #2 seeded Cornhuskers of Nebraska. You look at the bracket and how they got here. Nebraska had an easy route. They came through the winner's bracket. Meanwhile, Stephen F. Austin had to work a little bit harder, finally beating UW Whitewater, and here we are set for the championship. Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Dave Armstrong, along with Hall of Famer Kim Terrell-Carney. And Kim, as we look at this match, we look at one team, the #1 seed, the Lumberjacks, but they take on a team that is so tough, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It seems like they're always here.
Right. This is their third straight appearance at the championship round. And, you know, what do you say about Nebraska? Coach Straub has just built a dynasty there. You know, if I'm a young girl at home, this is the program I want to go to.
Well, it certainly is that, and Liz Culkin has been there for 4 years. She is the bowler of the year, and she anchors this team.
Right, Liz, you know, I've watched her 4 years at Nebraska, and she's bowled for us in Team USA, and she just commands the stage. She exudes so much confidence, and she was going to find a way to get here.
So Liz Culkin, the anchor of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, we are playing the Baker format, which means what?
Baker is the epitome of collegiate bowling. We have our leadoff bowler bowls the 1st and the 6th frame. The second bowler bowls the 2nd and the 7th, all the way down till you get to the anchor bowler who bowls the 5th and the 10th.
Well, it should be exciting. It's a best-of-7 match. We'll see who can come out the champion. Nebraska looking for their 2nd championship in the last 3 years and their 5th overall. Meanwhile, for Stephen F. Austin, looking for their 1st. Bowling Championship presented by Northwestern Mutual between Nebraska and Stephen F. Austin. Due to time constraints, we move ahead in the action. As we welcome you back to Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis, Stephen F. Austin has to be really happy with their start so far, even though they trail by 2 pins at the midway point. They're working on a double here, and Chelsea King will bowl for Stephen F. Austin. King with a 8-pin count and a spare her first time up. Didn't quite make it all the way to the pocket. A little bit light, and she leaves 3 pins.
Yeah, that 2-4-5, not the easiest spare on the deck.
So back to Jasmine Mason. Mason had a strike her first time up. Here it comes again. Oh, this time the 10 wouldn't trip out.
Right, I think with Jasmine, her and Liz both, I think if they just find a way to get that ball to start up just a little bit sooner, they're certainly in the right place, and I think those 10s will fall.
So King now, as you mentioned, faced with a little tougher spare than she would like, and the 7 pins that she got in the first ball also cost them some pin count working on a double. Perfect.
Great spare. You can see that she's just going straight at it. She uses a plastic ball, not really just trying to take the lane out of play and let the ball just go straight towards that 2-pin, which is the pin closest to her.
Whoa.
That was a good save. Just put that ball down and try and regroup. Something must have caught her attention.
Well, we've seen Tiger Woods do that before, haven't we? Where he's halfway through his backswing and then backs off.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do.
So now regrouping both mentally and physically. And well done.
Great spin.
Oh, it's the ball return.
Yeah.
I think she bumped into it on her way there the first time.
Yeah, she must have hit it with her leg as she started her approach. These ball returns do extend out a little bit more than your average.
Through 6 frames, both teams have filled every frame. Kara Grant with a spare her first time up, and she'll have to do it again, leaving the 7 pin.
Just another light 7. You know, everyone's in the pocket. There's no one that looks too lost. It's got that beautiful arm swing. She's just a really nice player. I like her game quite a bit.
Very balanced, isn't she?
Exactly. Testament of a lot of the good coaching that we have around the country. She's been she was a really good youth player in the Texas area, and it's showing.
And now you wonder about Melanie Crawford as she's switched sides here.
Yeah, a little bit. Mel, she was initially at Stephen F. Austin. She started her collegiate career there and then moved on over to Nebraska. Another week 7.
Now remember, she crossed over her first time, and so I think she made an over adjustment there and a little bit light.
Right. Now that very classic Nebraska style, big long push away, long follow through, good knee bend.
And a good spare for Grant.
Another good spare.
Different approaches to those single pin spares, but you see more and more bowlers, good bowlers, just go right at it. Just throw a straight ball.
I think it's much safer just because you just take the lane out of play in all the harder patterns.
And here she's going to bring in a little bit of spin into it.
Unlike the Nebraska players who hook at all their left side spares.
Yeah, right.
Coach Straub definitely has some different philosophies, but you know, with his many national championships, you know, he knows what he's doing.
You look at Morgan Rising, and what a spark plug she has been for this Lady Jack team. Everyone's watching her all week long, and if she marks, especially with a strike, just watch her get fired up. Long way to go, and it got there. See what I mean?
Yeah, great shot. You know, and I think, gosh, with Baker, just gaining the momentum is the biggest piece with Baker. And then once you get it, keeping your foot on the gas. Makes it back. Light carry seems to be working really good here this week.
Well, let's see if Ruiz can answer. She does.
Great shot. 10 straight back.
2 strikes for Ruiz.
They all certainly look pretty loose out there, don't they?
So important to stay in the moment and not worry about that trophy that's sitting right next to you over there. Long way to go. And now the foundation frame. That's a real good foundation.
Look at that. Paige, great shot out there. She sets up Stephanie to see if they can close this out.
2 strikes for Croshuer.
Great shot.
And now Julia Bond, who had to strike her first time up. That's the trophy they're playing for. Wow, what a match. Just 4 pins separating these 2 teams coming into the 10th frame. And now we have our 2 anchors, the senior Liz Culkin and the freshman Stephanie Schwartz.
And Liz just had an unbelievable season. She just lapped the field the entire year. Stephanie just showing up for this tournament. My goodness, averaging 226. She is certainly wanting to find a way to make these Lady Jacks win this national championship.
All the pressure right now on these two anchor bowlers. Who can out-bowl the other one here in the 10th? That's basically what this first game is all about.
White, made it back. I'm not sure I thought that was going to make it back, but staying composed, not getting too far ahead of herself.
And that really puts the pressure now on Culkin. And she can handle that pressure.
Great shot. We saw a lot of 8-pins here this week, so that 8 was late falling, but flush shots. Impressive, both of these young ladies stepping up here and trying to find a way to win this first match. Oof. I'm glad that 8 didn't stand.
Yeah, that really would have been unlucky.
Looks like that's a little in. Oh.
4 in a row for the Lady Jacks.
I'm sure that Steph's in the right ball. She's got a little room to the right, a little bit in.
Remember, Nebraska had the lead coming in. So this is a big shot here for Culkin. Strike here, and Cornhuskers most likely will have this first game.
Oh!
Wow, got him to mix it up.
Nothing better than that. Doing that for those teammates, coming back, getting those high fives.
Schwartz really couldn't have done anything more. I mean, she gets 9 here, but what a finish for Schwartz, as she has 2 strikes and 9, only 1 pin shy of the best she could do. And now all Nebraska needs is 6 pins, and they will walk away with game 1.
Both teams bowling a great first game of this match.
Boy, what an answer by both of these bowlers in the 10th frame. That'll do it. That will do it. Liz Culkin gives the Huskers game 1 in this best-of-7 series. It's Nebraska 1, Stephen F. Austin nothing.
You are watching the NCAA Bowling Championship.
Here's something you...
St. Louis, Missouri. It's the NCAA Women's Bowling Championship presented by Northwestern Mutual. The number 1 seed, Stephen F. Austin, taking on the perennial giant, the Cornhuskers of Nebraska, who are looking for their 5th national title and their 2nd in the last 3 years. This is the 3rd straight year Nebraska has been in the finals. And for Stephen F. Austin, it's the first time in the finals, and obviously looking for their first championship. And Stephen F. Austin, after dropping game 1 by only 5 pins, they are up to a 49-pin lead, working on 4 strikes in a row here in game 2. Now, don't forget, softball coverage continues on ESPNU. Number 6 Auburn hosts number 7 Alabama in an SEC matchup. First pitch Friday at 8:30. Weekend series continues with game 2 next Saturday at 6 on ESPNU and, of course, on your Watch ESPN app. Well, halfway through game 2, and it's been all Lady Jacks so far in this game as they try to even the match at 1 apiece. So let's see, the Cornhuskers, they have struggled here in this game. They have not yet figured out the left lane, and Jasmine Mason and that's a good start to the second half of the game. With Kim Terrell-Carney, I'm Dave Armstrong. Glad to have you with us at Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis. Well, let's see now if the Lady Jacks can make it 5 in a row. King, their senior, looking for her first strike. And a split gives Nebraska a little hope.
The momentum can change in Baker games very quickly. We've seen lots of matches throughout this week that looked like a team was just dominant the first half, and it turns around on a dime.
And again, looking for pin count here. Nebraska coming off a strike in the 6th frame, and now an open. The first open frame for Stephen F. Austin so far. And we'll see if Melanie Crawford can make it 2 in a row for the Cornhuskers. Try to eat into that 34-pin lead for the Lady Jacks. Better shot from Crawford that time, but leaves the 4.
I think Mel could stand to have just a little more ball speed. I don't know if I would move around too much from that shot. It looks like she's got herself in the pocket. Just get that ball down the lane a little bit quicker.
Now Grant. Man, is she on target.
Great shot.
Lady Jacks are locked in on this right lane. And they weren't too shabby on the left. They pulled a 232 on the left lane. And there's a spare for Melanie Crawford. 4 spares for her so far. Well, you look at Stephen F. Austin, they can roll a 255 if they strike out from here. The best Nebraska can do, 211. Again, a little high. They've been high pretty much this whole game.
They have. I think they're just going to have to make either a big move left and figure out how to get that ball further right down lane so that, you know, it checks back up into the pocket.
You notice when Morgan Rising bowls, she stays well back of the foul line. Is that okay?
She is far from the foul line. Typically, we want you to finish a little bit closer just so your ball kind of transitions properly. I think that's certainly something they've been working on with her. I know that when she would come out to our training center and work with us coaches, but it's working nonetheless.
That's right. 3 straight strikes for Rising. That's 2 in a row again for Stephen F. Austin. Is this the point in the game, if you're Nebraska, where you know you're probably going to lose this game? Do you start to move around a little bit and look for some adjustments?
Yeah, they're going to have to find a way to get lined up on this lane because clearly Stephen F. Austin is lined up on both. So they're going to have to find a way when they get back over here, have a game plan.
That's what Bill Straub is pondering right now. What are the different ways you can make an adjustment?
You can either do it with ball speed. You can certainly do it with ball selection, using a ball that's got more surface and more aggressive cover, or something that's weaker. Great shot by Julia. You can use it by changing your hand action. Really, the more up the back you get with the bowling ball, your fingers behind it, the earlier it's going to roll. And if you get your hand on the side, the more length you'll get and change of direction down lane.
And then you can also move your feet one way or the other.
Definitely moving your feet, eyes and target. And that is how you know you're lined up.
4 strikes, 4 for 4. 4 on the floor for Croshaw.
Certainly further right on the lane than the Nebraska players, which is common. Usually Nebraska just, they tend to get in, they create their own hook spot, their own hold, and they get away from the rest of the field. And once they get there, they usually can just repeat like no other team.
And Liz will leave the 8 pin.
A little bit light, but you know, I think I'd rather see that at this point than the ball going through the face the way it had been. You know, she can make an adjustment to make that look better.
This game is already over. Nebraska, the best they can do is a 180. Stephen F. Austin already ahead of that. That's just showing off now. So this match will be even at a game apiece. Is there any momentum for either team right now?
I'd have to feel pretty good if I was a Lady Jack right now. I think, you know, they have a good look on both lanes. Nebraska not so good on the left lane like we're seeing.
Man, Stephanie Schwartz. Remember this name, folks. You're going to hear it for the next 4 years. I predict a Bowler of the Year campaign at least once in her future.
Exactly.
That'll wrap things up for Nebraska as they finish with a 178. So that'll do it for Stephen F. Austin as they win game 2. Very impressive, the Lady Jacks in game 2 as they had strike after strike after strike. And Stephen F. Austin has evened up this match at a game apiece. Come back to Tropicana Lanes as this match is dead even. Here between the Cornhuskers and the Lady Jacks. Chelsea King will begin things for Stephen F. Austin, this time on the left lane. Let's see if conditions have changed a little bit. Remember, Nebraska, they kept going too far into the pocket in game 2. And that's exactly what happened to Chelsea King.
Yeah, it looks like she did move left on the lane.
So an opening split. Makeable, but not easy.
Yeah, I think in this case I think it's important to go for the 2 this point in the game.
To make it, you just barely have to clip that 4 pin. Now here's Jasmine Mason. First ball for the Cornhuskers. Well, they like this lane.
They do. It's great to see how much fun those teams are having.
Oh, yeah. This is the time of your life. Get a chance to experience a team atmosphere. You know, bowling, for the most part, is such an individual sport. Great to enjoy it as a teammate.
I think that's what makes collegiate bowling so awesome, is because it's one of the few times, like you said, in our sport where you get to enjoy the successes, the ups and downs with a teammate. The ability to do it for and with somebody else, there's nothing better.
And of course, you get to experience that as an assistant coach with Team USA. Now back on track. Kiera Grant, she's locked in right now.
She looks comfortable on both lanes.
3 strikes in a row for Grant. Now Crawford looking for her first strike. 4 spares, though. And again, light. Leaves the bucket. Yeah, 2, 4, 5, 8.
She's looking for it to come back. It just doesn't want to make it back on this lane. There's a little bit of a hang spot.
To make this one a right-handed bowler, you look to just throw it into the pocket between the 2 and the 5, right?
Right. Melanie will most likely hook at this.
Mm-hmm.
Great spare. always find that tricky because if I'm not lined up and I leave a bucket and I'm making that adjustment off my strike shot, it's risky.
And again, doesn't hurt because she was working off a strike, and so the pin count didn't matter. But right now, talking with Bill Straub, saying, I've got to figure something out. She is marking, though, 5 frames, 5 spares. And now here's Rising. She's got 3 strikes in a row. Trying to cross over.
That's the target on that lane. Just trying to strike. Probably really looking for that double because they had that hole early in this game.
Right here, you're going crossover, because you're looking at that going right through the nose, thinking split.
So good break and just leaving that 6 pin.
Now Ruiz started with 2 strikes, 2 spares in the last game. Back on the lane she loves.
And just makes it up there. I mentioned it earlier that I would say that Carey has been really good going in light to the pocket this week.
Well done, well covered by Rising. Just so impressed with both teams of how they are just, for the most part, covering each frame. About the only time they haven't is on splits.
Right. That's what Baker's about, is just controlling the pocket and filling frames, and it's what the better teams do.
Paige Crosher, an honorable mention All-American. Another split.
Another case where she just wants to really just get the one right here. There's no sense in trying to make this. I think too often people try to make, you know, especially in this format, there's no reason to try and pick this up. Just get the one and get back on track.
So you're saying for those of us who average 140, we shouldn't be just going after this split all the time?
No, not really. I don't think that's the best way to do it. Get your count. That's my biggest frustration. And there
Forget that.
Thanks, Paige.
Forget that.
Great shot.
But she averages a whole lot better than 140.
Yeah, she's like, Coach Kim, what are you talking about? Oh, that's awesome.
What a great shot.
And the momentum swings back.
Yeah. Wow. How about her day? 4 strikes and a split conversion. Man.
He's got her. Oh.
8-pin tap.
That was a great shot. They call the one true tap in bowling is that 8-pin.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to combat that. That's just bad luck. Just pick it up and move on. Spare.
Well, the way Nebraska's going so far, strike, spare, strike, spare. That's what we used to call the Dutch 200. They keep that up through the rest of the game. Now Stephanie Schwartz. Man, she's been just locked in. 6 strikes so far.
She got that down the lane.
Make it 7.
Great shot, great shot. I think what's a little different about Stephanie's game is that she, like a lot of our really great professional bowlers, and there's plenty of them that do it, she looks at the foul line at the release point, which is a little bit different, makes her adjustments a little bit different when you're working with her as a coach too.
Would you try to change that, or you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's for me to figure out how to communicate with her better.
answer for Liz Colkin. So the anchor bowlers with strikes. And right now, Nebraska seeing red with a 13-pin lead in Game 3. Missouri with Kim Terrell-Carney. I'm Dave Armstrong, and we're watching quite a match between Nebraska and Stephen F. Austin. The head coach of the Huskers is Bill Straub, and we asked him what the biggest challenge would be tonight.
Lane maintenance. Can we get something to where the ball reacts in a way that we can be relying upon? If it can be where we can repeat shots and get good results based off those good shots, I think their development has got a pretty good chance of succeeding. And they can walk out, win or lose that way with their head high.
Well, the lane maintenance has worked for Nebraska on the right lane. On the left lane, not so much. Right now, a 13-pin lead for the Cornhuskers as we go to the 6th frame. Chelsea King, after starting with 3 straight spares, she's run into some trouble with 2 splits in a row in her last 2 frames. Each team coming off a strike. And a little light. Maybe that's the overreaction to the splits.
Right. I thought it was a much better shot. I would rather see that. I'd rather see her trusting her ball reaction and just letting the lane do more of the work than trying to insist that it gets to the head pin and strikes.
Now a chance for Gigi to punch a hole into this game. Already a 13 in lead for Nebraska, and again trying to double up. Looking for her 4th strike in a row. Yep.
Jasmine has great ball roll. She has a really high rev rate, and you know the trick for her is always finding a way to get the ball down the lane because she gets it into such a heavy roll with that rev rate. And she's just gotten better at getting more speed on the ball, and so it's allowing her to play further right.
So athletic. Jasmine Mason. And King able to convert. So she got the spare in the 6th frame, but Nebraska with a 23-pin lead now. Kiera Grant up for the Lady Jacks. Man, has she been great. 3 strikes in a row for Grant. Lucky. Well, real lucky. She tripped out the 6 and the 10 first, which was the real luck part of it, and then the 4 as well went down.
Yeah, you could hear Coach scream and push. He knew that she got that in a little bit. He was hoping that it would just settle down and just kind of fade back into the pocket. But on that hook and lane, she's lucky to have the 7th pin for sure.
And now Crawford still looking for her 1st strike. Nope.
Looks like she made a ball change there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, as long as she's filling frames, though, she's not doing any harm.
She has done that. All spares so far, although facing a bucket here. Grant going after that 7-pin. Right at it. We'll look out for the Stephen F. Austin team in the future as well. A sophomore Grant, followed by a freshman Rising, then a sophomore Crosher, then a freshman Schwartz. And well done again by Crawford.
Big sigh of relief there.
She also looks down, doesn't she?
She does. She gets a little bit emotional sometimes. She just, you know, she works on trying to stay a little more composed, and you know, I think Coach works with her on that too.
Rising so far in her 5 frames, 3 strikes, 2 spares. Just stand back if she strikes. of her emotion. Oh boy. Technically not a split because the head pin stands, but boy, a tough one anyway.
All right, this washout. See, she's looking for it to make it back, but it just doesn't. Leaves that 1-2-4-10.
Now Ruiz. Also 3 strikes in 5 frames. Make it 4 strikes.
Just looks like a pro out there. She's telling it to sit, don't hook so much. That's got to really hurry over there.
Yeah. Somehow got the 10 to go, but left the 4. So an open frame for the Lady Jacks. And a huge lead now for the Huskers in game 3. Crusher has been, for my money, the most dynamic bowler so far here today, although both Schwartz and Kolkin have been great as well. But Crusher with 4 strikes and a split conversion. Make it 5 strikes. Not as emotional that time after that strike, because knowing this game really got away from Stephen F. Austin.
Great shot with Paige. You know, just the energy, like you said, that she brings back from the foul line is so crucial to this team. She keeps them positive. She keeps them believing.
Julia Bond. Can't wait to watch Julia Bond and Stephanie Schwartz for the next 4 years, huh?
Julia, we're fortunate to have her on our Junior Team USA program as well this year and last, and she's just gotten better at Nebraska.
Now Schwartz. Well, you look at both Schwartz and Kolkin, their teams depend on them, the anchor bowlers, and look how they've come through here today.
Right. Stephanie, seven strikes tonight, Liz 4, and Liz has been in the pocket on those other shots. It's just, you know, finding the right combination to make them all go down. Looks like she felt like she got her hand around that a little bit early. That's why it hooked so early on her.
So again, Nebraska will win game 3. And take a 2-1 lead. And for Stephen F. Austin, this is their first sub-200 game. And an open for Kolkin, but it doesn't matter. They'd already wrapped up this game. .201 finish for the Huskers. Something seems to be the matter with either either the thumb hole or something with Stephanie's ball.
Something with her interchangeable thumb, it seems. Looks like she's just going to use another one for the fill ball and see what's happening. Possibly, I'm not quite sure what could have happened there.
Yep.
Looks like Coach Straub saw it, though.
She'd like to get that ball back. She's had a lot of strikes with it.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what ball she uses. Give her a house ball the way she's bowling here tonight. But a 30-pin win for Nebraska in Game 3, and they take a 2-1 lead. To the mighty Mississippi, beautiful downtown St. Louis, Missouri. And we're at Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis as the Nebraska Cornhuskers looking for their 5th overall national title. They lead 2-1. When you look at the All-Americans this year, Liz Culkin leading that list as the player of the year, but also look at Stephanie Schwartz of Stephen F. Austin, just a freshman on that All-American team. Sarah Locker of Arkansas State also on that list. Renslow of Vanderbilt, and Cirrus of University of
Maryland Eastern Shore.
Maryland Eastern Shore. Now Culkin and her team leading 2-1, but now they come to the tricky left lane where they really struggled, only rolling a 178 in Game 2. See how Jasmine Mason adjusts things here to start Game 4. Mason, by the way, with 4 strikes in a row. Make it 5 in a row. Wow.
Jasmine running that one out. Nebraska, they get lined up on this lane. Things could change here in a hurry. She's gotten herself far enough left. She's waiting for it to come back with that rev rate she's got. It's always heading back left.
And so now Chelsea King trying to answer. As King told us at the very outset of our show, this has been the biggest thrill of her time. His 4th year, and she's watched the rise of this program. And that's a pretty big thrill there to answer the strike from Mason. And that's her first strike of the match.
Right, that should loosen her up. She's been critical this week and just bringing a lot of energy and getting them lined up quickly. You can see they trust her. She's their leader.
Speaking of looking for their first strike, here's Melanie Crawford. Well, she'll do it by crossing over.
Yeah, she didn't like that right up her hand. She looked worried right away.
And a double for Nebraska. Sometimes you just have to get a little lucky.
It almost looks like Melanie's looking at the foul line too. And again, there's no right or wrong with that. With the foul line, the dots, the arrows, any of that works. It's just as long as you're consistent in hitting your target.
But like me, you don't look in the channel. Not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea to start there. Here's Grant. She tried to cross over as well and leaves the 3-6-10.
Looks like she just got a little bit fast and her footing suffered a little bit at the end.
Kind of got over her feet a little, didn't she?
Right.
Got it the hard way. We heard someone in the crowd say, get it the hard way, and that's what she did.
Right, that outside part.
No matter what, though, they all go down. And it's a strike spare start for the Lady Jacks. Meanwhile, here comes Andrea Ruiz working on a double.
can't seem to get that ball far enough down the lane. It looks like she was about 21 at the arrows, so really she's moved far enough left. She may need to just either move her eyes back right a little bit just to give it, was probably a little bit too direct through the front part of the lane.
Explain what you just said to those that maybe aren't as tuned into bowling as you are. What do you mean by 21 at the arrows?
So just to the left of that fourth arrow. So she's playing pretty deep through the front part of the lane, and I think it's almost too direct from that angle based on how much the lanes are hooking.
Here's Rising. That's the second time in a row she's had the washout.
Right, it's just not getting off her hand very clean. She's getting a little bit anxious. You can kind of just see it in her body language a little bit here. So hopefully she can figure out how to fill this frame and get back on track.
Ruiz, no problem. She's filled every frame so far. No open frames for Andrea Ruiz, and now Rising for the second straight time trying to cover the 1-2-4-10. She left the 4-pin the last time she tried this. Nope, I missed the head pin this time.
Right. And this is where the composure starts to play its part. You know, the experience. You know, when you start losing your ball reaction or you get a little bit anxious and fundamentals start to fail you, you have to really hold on to those fundamentals when you're getting nervous or when your ball reaction's changing, because you know the lanes are changing. They have to stay in front of those moves, and it's starting to show.
You look at both Bond and Crawford. With Bond up now, she's had a 21-pin change here in this tournament. She's had a great tournament. That was a good ball. You can't do anything about that, right?
Nope. Just pick it up, and I would stand that exact same place next time around.
Now she's had a 10-pin tap and an 8-pin tap. But boy, she has consistently been in the pocket, and so too is Paige. Five out of 6 strikes so far. Wow, make it 6 out of 7. Wow.
It's underclassmen aren't looking like underclassmen, are they?
Not at all. Well, a lot of them get so much experience on junior teams and coming up through the ranks. They've been in the spotlight before. And Bond covers the 10-pin. So a 23-pin lead for Nebraska as we get to our anchor bowlers. Liz Culkin, as we mentioned, the Bowler of the Year for 2015. And she talked about what an honor that is for her to win that Bowler of the Year. She said with all the other names that have been called before, to win that in her senior year, she just so proud of that, and she should be. Ooh. Got away from a nasty split by knocking out the 6-10.
Liz is certainly, you know, she's earned that honor. She's worked very, very hard on her game. So it's no surprise. She is our future in this game. She is going to have a very bright future with the ladies tour starting back up. I know that she'll go out and bowl a lot of those stops and make her mark.
Stephanie Schwartz.
It's a big double. It's a big double right there.
I mean, obviously she bowls on the 10th frame, so she's had more opportunity, but she has more strikes here tonight than anyone else. 9 of them. Culkin with the spare there, and an 11-pin lead for Nebraska, and they got that based on the fact that they started this game with a double. So an 11-pin lead for Nebraska halfway through a pivotal game 4. Sixth frame, and here again is G.G. Mason. And that stops a string of 5 straight strikes for Jasmine Mason.
Just look at the difference between Jasmine last year and Jasmine this year. It's night and day. You know, she looked like a scared kid last year, and now she's comfortable. You know, she, at the end of that TV show last year, all she wanted to do was to get back in this position and play better.
Now here's King. She had her first strike of the match, her last time up. And that would have made it 3 in a row.
Light, 2-pin, no harm done. She can pick this up, and you know, they're not in a bad situation at all. Just keep filling these frames, make these easy spares.
This is such a pivotal game because Nebraska been so dominant on the right lane so far in this match. And a good cover by Mason.
And it's hard to tell with Jasmine that
Yeah.
it wasn't the most posted, balanced spare attempt, but no problem.
You wonder sometimes, you know, Mason had thrown nothing but strikes. She hadn't had to go after a spare in a long time. It's like a starting pitcher who doesn't have to work with guys on base for a while, and then all of a sudden working out of the stretch. It's a different motion.
See that easy spare conversion.
The NCAA Women's Bowling Championship brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Planning for success, and you know, Nebraska's been lined up pretty quickly, although on this lane not so much. That's the best ball thrown by Melanie Crawford so far.
That was a great shot. She finally got herself comfortable. She made a nice relaxed attempt, or at least shot at the pocket.
And Kim, when you look at your keys for Stephen F. Austin, I think they've done exactly what you've said. Stay present, and they've made spares.
Exactly. I am just thoroughly impressed at how well they've played on this TV show.
Especially Kiera Grant and Paige Crosher and Stephanie Schwartz, all youngsters bowling so well. Another good shot by Grant.
Just a little bit in at the arrows. It's probably a little bit further left than what she meant to do.
And Crawford with yet another spare. She's had 1 strike so far, and the rest spares.
I think if I woke up this morning and someone said, you're going to make a TV show and you're going to fill every frame, I'd be all right with it.
Take that. Yeah. And so would your coach.
Exactly.
So a 10-pin lead as we head into the 8th. 10-pin lead for Nebraska, already leading 2 games to 1. Getting down to the nitty-gritty, and here is Andrea Ruiz. She has marked every frame with 4 strikes, 3 spares.
She likes it. Yeah. A great shot.
Do you know when it leaves your hand, Kim?
You do. You really do. And you can tell by body language when a player likes it off their hand. They tend to stay in that finished position a little bit longer.
Pose a little bit.
Exactly. It's a big shot right there.
Well, let's see if Rising now can make some adjustments. Remember, she's had 2 washouts in a row. She did make an adjustment, but maybe over-adjusted a little bit.
Yeah. She's starting to get a little bit frazzled, but she'll fill the spare. And
I want to settle her down a little bit. Just cover the 6-pin.
it's natural to be a little bit left of target after those last 2 washouts.
And if you're just joining us, Stephen F. Austin bowling in the finals for the first time ever. Meanwhile, Nebraska, how about this? The Cornhuskers have qualified for the Final 8 in all 12 years. This is their 3rd straight final, and they're looking for their 5th NCAA championship.
There is definitely a secret to that success that Coach Straub has. What he's doing up there in Lincoln is unlike what anyone else is doing in the country.
Julia Bond. Ooh, little baby split here. Not an easy one, the 4-9.
Makeable. And she uses a plastic ball, so it's a good chance she can pick this up. This is one I would go for.
I remember when Crusher made the improbable 4-10 earlier in this match, and that's the only time she hasn't had a strike. So perhaps an opportunity here for the Lady Jacks.
Looks like the ball got stuck in the ball return.
Yeah, you could hear it. Well, crossed over and left the 5-pin. That's by far her worst shot of the match. She hasn't thrown many. So a 12-pin lead, but it's tenuous at best with Bond going after a split. Just went for the 1-pin.
Yep, they obviously instructed her to just get one. With the count, that makes much more sense.
So it makes the match all even. Going to just rely on the 2 anchor bowlers.
I'd pick those 2.
Again, same matchup as we had in game 1. Although in that one, Nebraska had a lead going into the 10th frame, and Culkin able to get 2 strikes to cover. And then Schwartz answered with 2 strikes, but it wasn't enough because the pin count helped the Huskers. So you look at what Liz Culkin has done tonight with a couple of open frames. One of them, though, didn't matter. It was a game in which they were out of it, and she had an open in the 10th.
Doing a little practice swing just to make sure that swing's nice and loose.
It matters now. This match dead even.
I thought that was a good shot.
I think she did too.
Yeah, surprised how much that hooked. She may need to consider getting into a little weaker ball in that lane.
Well, depending on what Stephanie Schwartz does, Liz may have no option but to go for this.
Stephanie has stepped up many times this national championship, just striking when she needs to, keeping them in
Needed to make
matches.
that, and she doesn't. So Stephen F. Austin, they'll even up this match at 2 games apiece. So Schwartz knows they're just going to bring in a sub to fill the frame here, since Stephen F. Austin has already wrapped things up.
10 of 13 strikes she's thrown tonight.
Danielle Lynn will step in here just to fill the game. And again, Stephen F. Austin has already won this game, so Danielle will come in. 2 games apiece, and both teams have won on the right lane, and that left lane is tricky right now. So tough to do, to just come in cold like this.
Right. They have a practice pair, but it's difficult to, you know, send you over there. You just don't know how the match is going to shape up.
And on the practice pair, they do make the conditions the same, the oil pattern the same, but with these lights from television, it's never the same once you get out here.
It's never the same.
So Stephen F. Austin wins the important game here in the match to even things up at 2 games apiece. They win this one 188 to 179. So the Lady Jacks have evened it up, and now it's a best of 3. Is presented by Northwestern Mutual. With Kim Terrell-Carney, I'm Dave Armstrong, and we are all evened up at 2 games apiece. We had a chance to talk with Amber Lemke before the match, the head coach of the Lady Jacks, and she talked about taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
We did. Nebraska is one of the most historic programs in bowling, just not NCAA bowling, but just bowling in general. And we have had the opportunity to beat them a few times this year. It definitely, I think they have, you know, they've been on the TV now 3 years in a row, so they have some more experience, but I don't think that that'll hinder, even though we have a super young team, I don't think that, you know, scares them at all. They're ready to come in and go out fighting.
So it could be an historic year for Amber Lemke and the Lady Jacks trying to win their first NCAA title. It'll be historic no matter what, because Amber and her husband Steve, who is an assistant volunteer coach with the Lady Jacks, they're expecting their first child about 5 months from now.
Right, that's great news for them.
And Chelsea King goes through the nose, but able to kick out the 10, leaves just the 7.
Chelsea having a little trouble just getting comfortable here. High in the pocket. Just got a little bit light on one shot, high on the other. Just can't get that swing loose enough yet.
Now Jasmine Mason. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a bad start to the game. That 2-4-8-10. Just want to get those 3. Looks like she got it just a little further right down lane than she wanted. Couldn't make it back.
So much easier for King, just a single pin spare. Hang on. It makes you a little nervous, doesn't it?
It does. Sometimes as a coach, sometimes you just don't want to look. You just wait for the sound.
Yeah. Tough split here for Mason. So an 8 count in frame number 1 for Nebraska in the first open frame for Mason. But just the start of things and a long way to go. Here is Kiara Grant. So impressed with Stephen F. Austin. They've come in here under the lights for the first time ever, and a young team, one senior and the rest underclassmen. They haven't backed down from this challenge one little bit.
Good shot for Kiera. You know, I know that Coach Lemke, they work with sports psychologists there with their program. They're covering it from all ends. You know, they're just making sure these kids are prepared to win.
Now Crawford, she's been searching for that pocket, and finally her second strike of the match.
That one in the pocket. Great shot from Melanie. I'm sure this will make her feel much better about this flush. Almost a little bit too flush.
Well, it's always got to feel good, too. There's a nice spare from Grant. Kim, when you can follow an open frame from your teammate and come back with a strike in the next frame.
Right, just allows them to get a double and erase that open, more or less.
So there is a change. Danielle Lynn, remember, she came in to fill out the last game. She is now taking the place of Morgan Rising. So a substitution here. Well, pretty good sub.
Great sub. And Danny bowled quite a bit during the week. You know, they sub back and forth between these two. And, you know, she's comfortable. Great shot right out of the blocks there.
So there was a little method to the madness of bringing Lynn in to finish out the last game. I think that was the plan all along, that get her a little bit comfortable here and then let her go. Ooh, there goes the 10-pin. And Ruiz breathes a sigh of relief.
Well thrown. I think that's where she meant. But it checked up a little bit too soon. You know, the key is to stay in front of these moves, just to stay in front of the lanes changing, and the teams that do it better are the teams that win.
I think one of the things you have to grow accustomed to, and you think the Huskers would certainly be familiar with it, is under these lights of the television, the lanes tend to dry out quite a bit quicker than they do under normal conditions.
Right, so you have to be pretty aggressive with the moves, sometimes bigger, like you're saying, than you would in any other typical situation.
All right, good cover by Ruiz. Again, she's been solid, no open frames. Now Crosher, honorable mention All-American, 4.0 student. And a strike machine.
Strike machine. Big double.
7 out of 9 frames strikes for Crosher. Nebraska feeling pressure maybe for the first time. And Julia Bond able to mix it up.
Pressure. Great ball reaction for Julia. She can get the ball through the front part of the lane just based on her hand action, and you know, there's always energy when it gets back to the pocket through the pins.
And again, here's Stephanie Schwartz. No one with more strikes in this match than her. 10 strikes and 13 possibilities. Another one that seems to look at that foul line.
Right.
Oh, another good ball. Another good ball. How can she just be a freshman? So one anchor, a freshman, the rookie of the year in the NCAA, the other a senior, and the player of the year.
We managed to get to the best players right now here, bowling for this championship title.
Here is the player of the year, Liz Culkin. Gave it more room.
Yep, great shot for Liz, too. There you go. That's the Liz we know right there. Yeah, it looks like she may have moved her eyes a little bit further right. I love her. It's just great.
And a double for Nebraska. And they're right back in this match and in this game. And again, Schwartz able to cover in the 5th. So we're halfway through a huge game 5 and a 10-pin lead for the Lady Jacks. We'll be right back. That's the trophy one of these two teams will be raising here momentarily. We are in game 5 of the NCAA Women's Bowling Championship from Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis, Missouri. And it couldn't get any tighter. Each team with 2 wins, and here we are halfway through this pivotal game 5, and it's a 10-pin lead for the Lady Jacks.
Two, 4, 5 there. I think it might even be time for a ball change. She's kind of stuck in that same ball the entire match, and it just doesn't seem to be giving her the ball reaction that she needs.
You see Steve Lemke over there smiling, trying to keep her loose. And now Mason, look at what she's done here tonight. 6 of 9, and boy, 1 here. And Nebraska would have their first lead of game 5. That was better. That was better.
Jasmine's like, she's a clown. That was a great shot.
She had a split in frame 1, not this time.
I think what's awesome about it now is that, you know, that they're being themselves, and sometimes when they get on TV, the kids get a little stiff, and they're just not having fun, and they're doing a great job here.
All right, good cover again by Chelsea King. And except for a couple of splits, King has covered every frame. So, a 3-pin lead for Nebraska.
Oh, that looks left.
It was. Leaving the 6-pin. Grant, who was so locked in early on. She had those 3 straight strikes. Well, ever since then, it's just been nothing but 9 spare, 9 spare. Now Crawford trying to make it 4 in a row. Never got back.
A little separation between that 2 and 4. It makes it a little bit harder spare.
So the lead trimmed to 2 pins.
We're going to make that the 2-5.
Another spare for Grant. And again, she's covered every frame. Crawford has as well. She covers again. So we go to the last 3 frames. Basically anybody's match. Anybody's game. And here's Danielle Lynn. And look at both teams can still get into the 230s. Strike out from here. We won't count the 10th frame when she came in as a sub. So this basically her 2nd frame. She had a strike first time up and now leaves the 6-10.
It's a little bit high, you know, with that first shot she got right off her hand really nicely. That one she got in just a little bit. Starting to see a little more concern on the looks, on the faces of the Lady Jacks.
Ruiz gave that one more room. Big strike in the 8th.
And right about that 4th arrow, she gets that ball to push through the front. Flush in the pocket.
Think of the 2 seniors, Ruiz and Culkin. It's their last opportunity. Trying to win their 2nd title.
And then on the outside.
Yeah, you'd like to cover it with a ball, but that works.
Either way.
Look at these last 2 bowlers for the Lady Jacks, and Crusher and Schwartz. Man, they've been electric. And I think these 2 bowlers are really what's giving the Lady Jacks hope of winning this title. Not that the others haven't contributed, but they have been so stellar. Wow.
Great shot. You know, and we're so used to Paige coming back with a lot more energy. And I think I'd like to see her just get as fired up as she was earlier in the week and earlier today, and that the team feeds off of that.
2 strikes in this game, all smiles, because she has 8 strikes in 10 frames.
My goodness. I'd be smiling.
Yeah. Well, chance for Nebraska to punch a hole into this one, though, with Julia Bond coming off a strike in the 8th. Ooh, another good ball from Bond, and leaves the 10.
This is the thing that is what makes Nebraska just what's turned out to be the best team in the country, at least throughout the season, is that once they get lined up with the help of coach and the fact that they're just great shot makers and just talented players.
See the guy in the background with the red head. You can't keep that on all the time.
No, we see it come off a little bit at breaks, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, that's good for a football game at Nebraska in November. Keeps your face warm. But inside the bowling center here at Tropicana can get a little bit warm. All right, a 4-pin lead, but remember Stephen F. Austin coming off the strike in that foundation frame. Yeah, we were talking about this, Crusher and Schwartz, and what they've done. 18 strikes for that pair.
I like what Steph did. She just kind of regrouped. She has a tendency to rush a little bit, so that was great that she took her time.
Trying to double up. Ooh.
It's a good shot. It's a good shot.
Makes life a little easier for Liz Culkin. So now Culkin comes up. Basically, all she has to do is match what Schwartz does with the 4-pin lead going into the 10th.
She liked it. You could hear her say, I cured it right off her hand.
That pretty much wraps this up because now she'll have 2 balls. Well, you talk about coming through in the clutch. Let's go. So a 202 possible for Stephen F. Austin. That means in 2 balls, all Liz needs to do is get 7 pins.
I like her chances.
Yeah. Gives it plenty of room. Well, she's got 7.
She got 7.
She got 7. That's exactly what she needed.
Steph tried a different ball there on her fill.
Yep. All right. So Nebraska wins game 5 to take a 3-2 lead. You think of Nebraska, 2 narrow victories, a 5-pin win in game 1 and now a 4-pin win here. 3-2 in favor of the Huskers. I'm glad to have you with us here at Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis. The Nebraska Cornhuskers now just 1 game away from their 5th NCAA bowling title and their 2nd in the last 3 years. But this is the tricky lane so far for the Cornhuskers. On this left lane, Nebraska has rolled a 178 and a 179, and they have lost both games. Mason starts them off with 9 pins, leaving the 4.
It's well thrown. I think Nebraska gets off to a good start here. It'll be tough to hold them back because they are known for putting their foot on the gas and running away.
So now let's see what Chelsea King does. And again, Stephen F. Austin, they need to win this game to keep this match alive. Best of 7, and Nebraska leads 3-2. And that'll work.
There we go. Great shot by Chelsea. There you go.
Her 2nd strike.
It's a time to get it. Nice aggressive follow through.
Ooh, almost hooked too much, but Mason covers here in the 1st. She's looking at her teammates like never a doubt. So now Melanie Crawford. Crawford with 2 strikes so far, and they've come in the last 4 frames. Tripped out the 10.
Looks like she got it out on the lane a little bit further. Helped it save some energy by using a little bit more loft. Got that 10 out.
So it's another way to make an adjustment.
Exactly.
A little more loft. Kira Grant. Oh, and a double for the Lady Jacks.
Yeah, gave it some room, that shot. Good for her. Good shot.
Kim, and as you mentioned, this week, all week, light hits seem to really carry.
Yeah, it's been, you know, and there's some bowling centers where that's just kind of the MO, the tendency, and you know, just recognizing that you don't have to be flush in the pocket every time to strike.
Well, let's see if Andrea Ruiz can answer. Look out.
Out of trouble. It could have been a little bit worse. Getting that 610, she should be grateful for and just pick it up.
Right there, you could see her putting on the brakes. Right. Hold on, hold on.
Trying to wave it off.
So now Danielle Lynn came on as a sub at the end of Game 4, and then hold both frames in Game 5 and right through the nose, leaving the 4, 6, 7, 10. Well, here you gotta go to per pin count with a 6-pin lead. You're gonna lose that. Oh, Ruiz with her first open frame.
Gave it right back to him.
Yep. Well, I don't know if she was going for it or just missed one pin.
My big pet peeve. Get the 2.
All right, both teams need to take a breath as we go to the 4th frame. Pressure's starting to mount. Julia Bond from the Chicago area, Illinois state champ, is a high school bowler. You can see why, just perfect form. She's been solid in the pocket almost every time.
Great shot. Just a hotbed of talent coming out of that area where she's from, Montgomery, Aurora, Illinois. Just a lot of really good high school bowlers out of the state of Illinois.
Crusher, another one right in the pocket.
Just a little bit of a flat 10.
Julia Bond taking her time. And no problem covering that. Solid shot for Bond again. Crusher has not had an open frame, even when she had a 4-10 split. She covered that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was afraid you jinxed her a little bit there.
No. I've jinxed a few in my career, and I was hoping I didn't do that there. So a 2-pin lead for Stephen F. Austin as we reach the anchor bowlers. And a big shot for Liz Colkin.
Liz has got herself lined up on both lanes now.
Let's see if Stephanie Schwartz can answer. Notice the bowlers are all taking more time. I mean, obviously the importance of this game. The Huskers win this game, they win the NCAA championship. The Lady Jacks must win to stay alive. And what an answer for Schwartz. So just like that, the Lady Jacks back to a 2-pin advantage. Anybody's game here. Almost tied as we've reached the halfway point.
Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. You and Northwestern Mutual, stronger together.
A Tropicana Lanes in St. Louis has been a great host all week long. I want to thank all the personnel here for just their lovely hospitality. And now we have reached the pivotal 6th frame in a key game for Nebraska and for Stephen F. Austin. Again, the Lady Jacks need to win this game to stay alive, and the Huskers would like to close it out here. Now remember, the Lady Jacks are the #1 seed. As such, if it does reach a Game 7, they would get to select which lane they would like to bowl on.
That's huge because the winds are coming off that right lane.
All the winds have come from the right lane. And so you get the sense that Nebraska is going to have to figure out this left lane either in this game or in Game 7.
Right.
Each team coming off a strike from frame 5. Here we are in frame 6. King with her 2nd strike of the game.
Great shot for her. There's no
2
fear.
strikes for the senior. That's some leadership.
There you go. Again, got it out on the lane a little bit more. Flush through the pins.
And a big double for the Lady Jacks. Gives them a 12-pin advantage. All right, Mason again with a cover.
You can see the momentum kind of teetering on the edge. See who's gonna show up right here.
Mason only 1 open frame. That was on a split. She's frustrated though. Couldn't find the pocket. So now Crawford getting some final instruction from Bill Straub.
Great shot. You can tell she got, you know, the plan clearly is get it out on the lane. Now when you get it out on the lane to help it to read and go through the pins with much more energy than what she was seeing before.
Her 2nd straight strike. And now Grant. She had a strike in the 2nd frame. Trying to make it 3 in a row. Ooh, leaves the bucket.
I like that she trusted it. A little bit too much, unfortunately.
That hurts on pin count too, though.
She knew it wasn't going to make it back, you could tell. Keep sparing.
And now we have a ball that's stuck in the ball return. So a little pause in the action.
Fair after that little bit of a wait.
Yeah, so Kiara Grant is having to go for big spare here. And again, with an 8-pin lead for Stephen F. Austin. Nebraska, if they win this game, they win the championship. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Big open frame for the Lady Jacks.
That's unfortunate.
Her 1st open frame. So now Ruiz, she had an open frame, her only one, back in the 3rd. Chance to punch a hole in this match. And a big double for the Huskers.
Great double. That's what you want to do. Your opponent gives you an open to double. It's the best thing in the world. It's looking a little tricky here for SFA. They're going to have to pull something together here.
So an open frame followed by a strike. Now Danielle Lynn little bit high and leaving the 4-7. 16-pin advantage for the Huskers as they get close to the finish line. Nebraska trying to win their 5th national title. They won in 04 and 05, again in 09, and then 2 years ago in 2013 in Detroit. The anticipation of those Huskers, they can sense it now. They can taste it. Uh-oh, hang on. Oh, huge open frame here. Back-to-back open frames for the Lady Jacks. The most inopportune time. That's the trophy they're playing for. They can almost reach out and touch it. Oh, an 8-pin tap. Oh, my.
It's their second 8-pin tonight, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's her second 8-pin tap. Nothing you can do. She threw a great ball. The hill just got bigger to climb.
Yeah, they're running out of frames.
Yeah. Bond almost got lost in the moment and almost grabbed the wrong ball for the spare. Fill the frame here. She does. Must mark and then hope. Good mark.
Good spare. Good spare.
Culkin coming out from beyond the shadows. A chance for her second NCAA title and for Nebraska's 5th. Gave it plenty of room. All smiles now for Nebraska. It is all over. Nebraska has wrapped up their 5th NCAA title. So close for the Lady Jacks. And you know what? Stephen F. Austin can take heart in the fact this is such a young team, and they're going to be back.
Yeah, they will be back. They're gonna want to get back to this stage again, and it only makes you better. As hard of a sometimes of a lesson it is, and it's a bit unfortunate with the lane breakdown with Karen, kind of the momentum changer there, but Nebraska has been the team to beat all year. They have just been unbelievable this entire year.
Congratulations to Bill Straub and Paul Klempe, the assistant coach, and to all of these young ladies. And I know, losing is so bitter and so tough for the Lady Jacks of Stephen F. Austin. They came so far. They fought through all their way. And then for Chelsea King, you can see the tears flowing because this for her last chance, her senior campaign. But to get to the finals for the first time ever, that's one of the building blocks for Stephen F. Austin.
Right, a program that hasn't been around very long, and what the Lemkes have done to make them a contender here for this.
And Liz not waiting for anyone. She just goes over and grabs the trophy. Forget about the presentation. We'll just grab it. She has got a stranglehold on that trophy for the second time, and the relief you can see for Liz Culkin. There they are, the 2015 NCAA Women's Bowling Champions, the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Nebraska Cornhuskers, and to Julia Bond, our most outstanding player. Julia, tell me what it's like to start your collegiate career with a win and this great honor.
It feels amazing to come into the program with all these great people and to come what we came to do. And it just feels amazing to do this with this great group of girls, and it just sets the tone for my collegiate career, and I just can't wait for the next year and to keep doing this and to just keep bringing as many trophies as I can to the program.
Well, again, congratulations to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. What a great, great season, and another win for Coach Straub.
Thanks a lot, Kim. Boy, it was a terrific win for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, their second title in the last 3 years and their 5th overall. An amazing performance by Julia Bond, the MVP of the championship. And, of course, to all of the Cornhuskers, our congratulations. So thank you for joining us for the NCAA Bowling Championship from St. Louis, Missouri. For Kim Terrell-Carney, I'm Dave Armstrong. Congratulations to the Nebraska Cornhuskers, the 2015 NCAA Bowling Champions. Coming up next, it's baseball. Once again, so long from St. Louis, Missouri.